Hello everybody, welcome to another session of our junk journal development using the Titanic collection by Relative History. So I'm going to be also using some papers today by Thoughtful Studio. And again, it's possible, I think these are again paid papers that I have that aren't in a collection. But again, we can always be pushy if you like them. I love them. So far, they're turning out really neat in this book. Perfect color coordination. All right, so let's take a look at the signature we're doing today. We got this one. So I think this is the last of the signatures. So like I said, I like to, however many signatures I have, I grab one signature, kind of go through, see if there's a page I want to do and do it, and then I put it to the side and grab the next one. I just like to rotate that way, you know, one signature then the next one to do something in that one and do something, so on and so forth. So this is I think the last one of which I haven't done anything yet. I think so. So let's do a little flip through. So we're gonna work on the front here and the page, and we're actually going to do this side as well. So we got quite a bit to do this time. And again, this is the 12 by 12. It's got the picture of the crew, the officers, and again, I've scored down so it goes in the middle. We have this is alcohol ink dyed paper with one of my hinges. This is just a little receipt. I like to use receipts, especially in a book like this, because it kind of fits the theme. And then we've got a music paper, and this is another envelope. This one, however, is white. And the nature of the envelope, I went ahead and sealed it just because without sealing it, there was a sticky piece here. So some of them, the sticky is on the flap, and so you can kind of tuck it inside, and my camera's doing that thing again. Come on. Probably doesn't like the white. And so you can tuck the flap inside, and then that way, if you also, you can, use it. But this one was really sticky on this, so you had to peel off one of those little tapes, and then, so I couldn't really tuck it inside, so I went ahead and closed it. So probably when I use it, I'll either cut off this piece or cut off the top. We'll see what happens when we get to that point. Another piece of the sketch paper. Let's see. And then, of course, the other side of the envelope, the music paper, the receipt. And the other side of this alcohol paper on the hinge is a Kool-Aid dyed paper that has been spritzed, which is why it's kind of shiny. So that is our signature. And like I said, we're going to work here. And since this is the crew, I wanted to work off that and cover and of course, it's, like I said, it's the officers, but it's also kind of talking about the crew. And I thought I could start here, and maybe even the next several pages can be information about the crew. We'll see what happens. So I have a typewriter that's about 100 years old. And so I like to use that for projects like this, because it's kind of neat to make a project that's about something that happened over 100 years ago with a typewriter that's 100 years old. So on the front here, I've got two little bits of facts. And okay, this is the fun thing about these numbers. So basically it says how the total number of crew, number who perished, number who survived. And then because I really respect the people who worked on the ship, I wanted a little listing of the different groups and how many there were in each and how many survived. And for instance, the engineers, I know every one of them stayed and worked to keep the power going in the ship as long as possible to give everyone the most amount of time, which I just think is amazing. And so I wanted to definitely have this list here. Even though they're not officers, I think they're just amazing. But the piece that was funny is that it seems like no matter where I went, I didn't get the same number of crew. It was always off by a little bit. And I think that's because each page counted who was crew differently. So for instance, there was a group of men who were there to, I think they acted as the representatives of the insurers or the investors, and they were there to ensure that everything went smoothly. And some counts, they counted them in as crew because in a way they were, but they were also ticketed. So some didn't count them as crew. So nobody had the same number. They were all very similar. So this page where I got this information, I believe this was from National Geographic. That's what I went with. So since I was going with these numbers for that, I went ahead and went with the crew numbers from that page. So this is going to go on this page, and this is backed on, like I said, some paper from Thoughtful Studio. And then when this turns on this side, I have 3 pictures of the first officers. So these are going to go on here, and then again I've typed their names out, and I'll make sure these go with the right person, but probably getting this wrong. Yeah, because that one goes, I think, down there. But anyways, I've got their names, but you know, I don't want it to just go on the white because it's a little boring when I really want to make them stand out. So I took a piece of some, I believe this is also Kool-Aid dyed paper. It's either that or watercolor dyed paper. No, I think this is Kool-Aid. And I just ripped using, I have a rip ruler. And I do not remember who the company is that I got this from. Although if you are interested, I can find the name. Because I bought it on Amazon, so I can look that up pretty easy. However, We Are Memory Keepers has a set of rip rulers that have a number of different looks to the rip. I think the thing about this one, I really like this side. I do not like this side. I mean, every time it looks fake. I mean, if that makes any sense, I just don't like it. So I never use this side. I only ever use this side. So take that as you will. So yeah, so you can see these, they look much better on the page with having the blue. And so they'll be on there. And then, of course, there is the captain. And I found this picture of the captain with, I think it's his dog. Unfortunately, the page where I found the picture did not explain who the dog was. If it was his dog that he was holding it for some first-class passenger, I'm not sure. But I like animals, so I just really liked this picture. And in the ephemera set, so I found this online. There's a Flickr Commons is a great place to get images that are copyright free. So Flickr Commons is a great resource. Out of the ephemera set that you get with your your Relative History Titanic collection, there is a newspaper, and I believe these came from the Daily Mirror. So you can see I took off the top, the Daily Mirror. And in there's one page that had a whole lot of different pieces, and I picked the ones that I liked the most and cut those out to save those for other pages. And these two that went perfect with this was one about captain's misfortune and need for instant action. What the captain did immediately after they hit. So then I also, in the collection, there's also this page, which I really liked. So I thought there's a possibility that I want to grab more information specifically about the officers. And so and that, right at the moment, I may not do that, but as I, use my book, I might want to add more info. And so I made this little book to figure out that way so I can show it to you. I haven't finished it, so I'm going to show you how I put this together. But again, it's just my manila folder and put together into a little booklet, and then just some, this is just plain printer paper. So probably 80 pound or 80 gram. And I'm going to put that in there. And I did something special on the back, and then he's going to go here on the front. So then these pieces can go into the book, all of these guys. And then also I can capture any more information, either printed or written. As time goes by, I have plenty of room to add more info if I like, because I'm a history person, so I just love history. So my plan for this one, and we'll see how it goes, because I've done something like this before, but not completely like this. My plan is to have the book here, and again, let me move this to the side so I can shut this. I don't want the book to show when this closes, so I want it to be like this. And this is going to be pretty puffy, so I want it to stay down, and I want this page to stay down. So, like the other page that we've done, I've got, this time I'm going to use 2. And I've got, so 2 little tabs here. And again, I've used my little printed on overhead paper stickers. And I picked Pride and Be Fearless. And the reason, so the Be Fearless is going to go down here at the bottom, where the little piece with the engineer, so it's going to be closer to them. So that will be like this. And then this one will be higher up here, the Pride. I'm not trying to say anything rude about the, I don't mean pride in the bad sense, although some may argue that one. So that is that. And so I'm hoping that these will be enough to hold these down. The possibility is that it pulls this page up as well. If it does, that's not a problem. Then what I will do is, rather than hooking it to hold this down as well, we'll just use it to hold this down. So hopefully I get this in such that if it's pulling the page up to hold this one down, it can still simply hold the book down. And hopefully then this one shouldn't pull up. And it shouldn't. It shouldn't. But even if I don't manage to line it up right, which, sometimes you don't. Measure once, cut twice, right? Then I can always use a paper clip up here with, either a decoration on this side or a decoration on the other side to hold it down as well. And that'll add extra stability to it. And that will help this to not pull this way. So, not sure how it's going to work, so we're going to give it a try. Like I said, I've done many of these in this way before, but not holding down another page. So, now the other piece to this is that I wanted this to be able to come in and out, because I didn't want to have to, if I'm going to write specifically, I didn't want to have to write in the journal. So I wanted this to be able to come out nicely so that I can take it with, somewhere else and sit and write. So what I've done is on the back, I've taken some magnets, and I think I put the magnets away. Here's the magnets, and these are super duper strong, and typically they're a little thicker than I usually like. I usually prefer, I believe these are 1 millimeter. I prefer 0.5 millimeter, but they're really strong. And let me give you a show here. So the way I check to see, because remember, you're going to have layers of paper. So here I only have the one layer of thin paper, but then to hide the other magnets, it's going to be going through this paper and the manila folder. So I'm going to be putting the magnets back here. And so it's going to have to be strong enough to go through that. So I've put 3 magnets already on the back here. So there's, let's see if I can feel them, there, here, and here. And all I did was glue them to the back and then put the paper over it. The way that I check to see if I've got good, strong magnets is I take 2 of them and hold them between my finger and then pull them back and forth. And if you can feel the resistance, because, you know, your fingers are going to be stronger than teeny weeny little magnets. If you can feel a resistance, they're good. They should make it through at least 3 layers of paper. I have, let me see, I don't know if I have them in here. These are, as you can see, itty bitty teeny weeny little magnets. I like to have these for when I'm doing super, super tiny things that I need to have magnets for. These aren't quite as strong. And you can already see it by the fact that I can easily bend this, where when I take this, it's a little bit harder. I can feel the resistance, but they're pulling back where this one doesn't quite as much. So they're not quite as strong. And again, when I hold them in my hand, and my fingers rather, and I'm going to lose them because they're so tiny, and go back and forth, they don't give as much as resistance. As a matter of fact, there, I even lost the other one. So they're not quite as strong. So they're never going to make it through cardstock. They're going to struggle with cardstock. So with these, I would only use thin paper and no cardstock in between, and only 1 layer. So that's a good way to check your magnets. And I can't tell you a brand, because the funny thing is, I've bought from one brand and then I've loved it and then go to buy more, and those are totally different. So it's kind of a, what do you call it? It's kind of a crapshoot. Is that? Yeah, you just never know what you're gonna get. So this little set is quite good. I'm very happy with this set, and it happens to be, yeah, me, whatever that is. All right, so first let's put this book together. And let me see. I use the We Are Memory Keepers binding tool. I adore this thing. It is so good in terms of ensuring that you get the papers exactly where you want them. And I'm going to have to turn this my way so I can see it better and line it up real well. And I'm going to go ahead and go through all of them. Typically when I do a book, I go 1 page at a time. But this is just a little journal book, and there's only, I think there's like 3 pieces of the extremely thin printer paper, and then my little manila guy, so I'm not going through much. I'm going to do 3 holes, and I like them to be really nice and balanced, so I like to make sure that I'm really getting them lined up. I'm also kind of anal that way. So I'm going to look for the center, and about there, so it doesn't quite get the center, so I use little Post-its with little arrows, and I don't need one on this side because I only got one that I currently have out at the moment, but I'll remember that it's the second one, and that kind of equates to this one here, so I'm going to arrow that one. I really recommend using the Post-its if you're going to be doing a lot of pages. In other words, you're going to be taking it out, putting in the next page, take it out, put in the next page, because there's no numbers on this. So it's like, yeah, which ones? So I always mark them. All right, and then I just have to pop through. And take it off. Like I said, the nice thing about using this is that if I realized, oh, you know, I want to add 2 more pages to this, I can put the 2 pages in, put that down, and I'll have the perfectly lined up holes. And I don't have to use clips. Things don't roll around. I really hate. It was one of the things that I really always hated about just using a plain cradle. Now, the only thing about this is, as you can see, it is only nine inches tall, which for pretty much most journals is perfectly fine. However, as you can see, it's not going to work with this one. Mine is about 11.5 inches tall. However, there is a method to still use this with the tall, much taller papers. And I can show you that when we get to that point in the process. So put that away. And then I'm just going to do a plain old pamphlet stitch. And you don't need to watch me do a pamphlet stitch. If you don't know how to do one, one person I really love to watch in terms of learning how to do bookbinding is C. Lemon, SCEA Lemon. And she gives incredible tutorials, and she has just so many different ways, the different versions of bookbinding. So I really recommend watching her. She'll give you a much better tutorial. And you can learn all kinds of different ways of bookbinding. So I'm going to quickly sew this and come right back. Okay, I've got it all sewn. And just to let you know, and you'll see how hard that is to cut, what I use for thread is actually fishing line. And this was suggested by my father, and it's one of my favorite things. I have tried all kinds of different threads, and I've waxed my own thread, and I hate that. I really hate it. One, you got to sit there and wax all your thread, and if you're doing a big book, that's a lot of thread. Two, it tends to, as you go, you get, especially if maybe if your wax is soft and it's really nicely sticking to your thread, you end up getting globs of wax in the holes. Also, hate that. The fishing line, and I use the braided fishing line, is smooth. I mean, it's made to glide through the water, so it's real smooth. And I find that just perfect. And what I really love is I can squeeze like crazy, and it's never once torn the paper. Never. And it's one of my problems that I've often had, especially with older papers. Now, obviously, really old brittle paper, if you're using that and you're folding so it's going to be in the spine, definitely put some washi tape over it. Glue on the washi and then put that over, and that will help to reinforce it. But beyond extremely brittle paper, I pull and pull and pull, and it never has once ripped my paper, which is very interesting to me. I don't know what the sorcery is there. Okay, so this is going to be the tricky part, and it's lining it up. So I want my block to kind of be here in the middle. And then I want to make sure that this little guy is, well, kind of up in the corner, because I also have, excuse me, I got allergies pretty bad, which is why I sound like a frog. Got his name here. So I don't want him to go too far down, so I still have room for him. And I don't want to go so far over, because I want, make sure these are real tucked in, because that's how it's going to be sewn, so it'll be nice and tucked. Okay, so, alright, so I'm thinking about there. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some Post-it tape. Post-it tape. I know a lot of people use washi tape when they want to hold something down and, not rip the paper and want to easily bring it back up. But washi tape can be expensive. And I like my washi tape. I want my washi tape for, the specific purpose of my washi tape. And so I like Post-it tape. It's cheap. And I'm not wanting to use it for any other project, so I have no problem using it for this. Okay, so now I know he's where I want him to be. So I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to get out magnets. Now again, I had 3 magnets. So we're going to know if this is going to work in one way in terms of the magnets are strong enough, by whether they can find their friend. Where is it at? Uh-oh, so maybe it's not strong enough. Come on. There. So you can, it snaps to, and if it can do that when it's close enough, oh, because it's trying to find the other one. Okay, the other one's there. Let's see. There. Which means the other one's about here. There. That's a good way to know if another way to know if your magnets are going to work really well, because if they can, through that, find their friend, then they're doing pretty good. Now you can see I used 3 magnets because I really want this to hold on there. So now that I know they're where they should be, I'm going to take some double-sided tape, and I'm just going to, well no, I don't think I need to. I'm just going to put the double-sided tape over it. Actually, maybe I will take that back off. And I don't care that I'm slightly ripping it because it's not that bad. Come on, get off there. Okay. What I'm gonna, usually I put down a little glob of glue, and I thought, but now I'm rethinking it because I just like to ensure that it's really going to stay there. And if it were to accidentally come out of from under the tape somehow, like if I move the book and the magnet pulls it, because these are pretty strong magnets, then I could be in trouble. So again, I'm just going to let it fall and find its right spot. I'm just putting the tiniest of dabs. Oh, kind of missed that one. Okay. And now over that, I'm going to put my double-sided tape. And I'm sorry, this one's going to be a little bit longer than usual, but I really wanted to show you how I do this. Okay. And now this is just to ensure that they stay in place. Okay. And then obviously what I'm going to do is I'll put the tape all around there. And now I should be able to take these off. And, ooh, see, pretty strong. Now it is going to stay, well, nice, good magnets. Going to stay really nice in place. So the next piece is going to be to put on my little tabs here. And again, I want this one far enough down that it's closer to here, and this one probably close to the top to just balance it on the page. Something like that. But I need to get this perfectly in place. And I'll just do that by, figuring out exactly where I want it. I'm going to make a mark. Move that over just a bit. Yeah. I'm just going to make a little mark on the page here so that I don't lose where that went. And then also, let me see, how far down do I want to go? Go down a little bit farther. Actually, maybe, no, not too far, because I might want to put something down there. About there. Make sure it's still lined up. And make a mark here. So now I can work with it, and I have an idea of where it's going to go. So, I'm going to figure out and put in my holes for my little tabs. See if it works to hold this down and hold that down. I can already see it's going to strain, which means it might be pulling this up. We'll see what happens. And like I said, as long as I have them so that they also hold down the book, so I want to make sure that they line up there as well, then they're where I want them to be. And they'll at least hold my book shut. That's why, again, another reason I'm using 2 to hold it shut here on the page. If it also holds this, so much the better. If not, doesn't matter. We're still good. So I'm going to do that, put the holes in, put my brads in, put all my pages together, and then I'll let you see it at the end. Be right back. Okay, so all done, and it worked. And it's not pulling, which is great. I think maybe because I used about 5,000 pieces of tape to really hold it down. But you can see it's nicely holding down the page. I've got my little thing about the crew, about all the engineers, and then the swivel, and we can open up here, and we have the images of the officers and their names, and then we have our little book, and that goes right in. Those are some strong magnets. Very happy with those. And so I can either, just hold that down with those, but it works real nicely to hold down the whole page. And in the book, I simply glued in the different pieces that I mentioned from the newspaper that I liked. And I got plenty of room to add more info. I think there's some information that's interesting about how well they had different ideas about, his role, the captain's role, and what happened, that kind of thing. So I might add that information into the book. So it'd be fun to research and add in later. So that is today's page. Sorry this took a little bit longer. I really wanted to show you how I do the magnets and everything. So there we go. Alrighty, so then stick with me. I hope this is helping, or that you're getting inspired, finding new ways to do things. And we'll keep going. We've got more to do. And hopefully this one wasn't too long. Sorry about that. I'll try to keep the other one nice and short. So anyway, please check out Relative History, specifically the Titanic collection, but she has lots of beautiful historical papers. And like I said, we used Thoughtful Studios designs today, so definitely go and check her out. Give her some love. You can find a link to everything from the Relative History page as well. So we will see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.